What is going on, traders? What an amazing day for bulls. I hope you made money because we definitely made money in the Discord. What an amazing week for us. And we pretty much called it spot on. For the past two videos, I was pretty much bullish. And I even said, you can check the thumbnails for one of the videos, that this seems like an obvious bear trap. And all your favorite YouTubers, everybody was panicking. Jerome Powell crashed the market. Oh, we're going to drop from here. It's all bad, blah blah blah. And whole time I'm looking around and I'm like, guys, we haven't done anything. The sell-off yesterday that happened, if you're new to the YouTube channel, we pretty much went right back to where we were the day prior. We didn't do anything despite that sell-off happening, which was right here. So everybody was panicking, but nothing really happened. Sure, we gave back a lot of the movement that we saw throughout the day, a lot of the bullish movement that we saw, but overall, nothing really happened. And so, what led me to believe that, yesterday, or not even yesterday, the day before, and even yesterday was a pretty much a bear trap, was the big tech names, right? When I can't figure out, and you should take this advice, do what you want with it, when I can't figure out what the SPY is trying to do or the triple Qs is trying to do in regards to direction, I go look at the names that really have a say so or an overall say so on what direction the SPY and the triple Qs go. And that would be the Mega Seven. I start looking at Microsoft, I start looking at Nvidia, Apple, Google. I start looking at these names and seeing if they're bullish or bearish. And if majority of them are bullish or leaning bearish, then I'm going to go with what they say. Why? Because they ultimately have the say in what direction the SPY, not even the SPY, but the triple Qs go. So hopefully that makes sense. And so while we were seeing the SPY being bearish, or at least looking bearish, and the triple Qs looking bearish, whole time big tech was looking bullish. And so I'm going to go by that. And so it seemed like right here just very much seemed like an obvious bull trap, and man, not bull trap, bearish trap. And man, did they get absolutely trapped. So the question is, can we go higher from here? So you guys know that my all-time high targets in regards to the SPY is 580 and then 600. Now, the 600 target we'll have to talk about if we get closer to that target, but I do think we're going to start heading towards 580 with some dips along the way, if not at all. And so, if we do just so happen to dip, I want you guys to keep in mind that tomorrow I don't really have high expectations, and the reason being is usually when the market rallies or really pumps, and we really pumped like all night leading into today. Usually the next day is pretty much a cool off type of day. So either we see some type of consolidation or we start seeing a sell off tomorrow. And when I say a sell off, I just mean simply a retest towards 565, 564 range before we start to head higher and possibly hit that 580 target. Okay. So that's what I'm looking at in regards to the SPY. And keep in mind, this is the daily time frame, so don't have any high expectations of the 580 target hitting right away. And so we look at the triple Qs, and same thing happened with the triple Qs, right? Where everybody was seeing this right here, and so I'm sure. I'm sure a lot of the people, I'm sure a lot of people watching this video, if you're in somebody's Discord, I guarantee somebody yelled out puts, or the host of your Discord yelled out puts, told you to get puts, and boom, you got trapped. Okay. And honestly, I can't blame them, but any experienced trader would not fall for this if you know where to look. And this is why you look at everything. You don't just look at the Qs, you don't just look at the SPY, you look at the NQ, you look at the ES, and you look at the names that help move the triple Qs in the SPY. And those names would be the Mega 7. And so I'm seeing the Mega 7 being ultimately bullish, but then we're seeing this move here. So that's why I'm like, this seems like a bear trap, right? And then we have a low here, a higher low here, and then I guess you could consider this a cup and handle right here as well. You got your cup here, and then you have a handle here, and then you broke out. And now we are gapping up, but look where we are. And this is very interesting, right? And we're at the same spot as we are on the NQ, where we're at this fair value gap on the daily time frame. And mind you, we haven't cleared this fair value gap. We pretty much are testing it. And so far we're rejecting it. And you guys know that gaps, whether they're fair value gaps or not, have very strong support and resistance. So we need to break through this area. And if we don't, and if we just so happen not to tomorrow, then I imagine we'll just start heading towards the downside, maybe fill this gap up at around 475 range, and then start heading higher and start clearing this area out. I find it hard to imagine that we sell off like, and I mean really sell off, not a dip, but just like really sell off before we fill this gap at around the 490s, between 492, 496 range, or at least start mitigating this fair value gap. If we break above this fair value gap, then I think we're going to start heading towards all-time highs. And you guys know that one of my all-time high targets for the triple Qs is 510. And so we look at Bitcoin. And so man, I called this so spot on. It was insane. Like almost immediately after video yesterday, Bitcoin just absolutely broke out. And what did we talk about in regards to Bitcoin? Well, I told you guys about this rising three method pattern here, and this is a very rare pattern, but it's extremely bullish. And so you have an engulfing pattern here, and I don't have the Google image up, but I showed it in the past two videos. So if you want, you could just look it up. It's called the rising three method candlestick pattern. But you have an engulfing pattern here, three small bearish candles, and then you have a bullish engulfing pattern. Very, I mean, so clean, guys. So clean. What a clean pattern. And so I do think Bitcoin is going to head higher. It does have the potential to see 65,000. And after that, I'm looking at as high as 67,000. I'm not really looking anywhere beyond that, but Bitcoin looks absolutely bullish. And if we want, we can say this is a double bottom here. It just needs to clear this 200 SMA and this neckline at around 65,500 range. But overall, called it right on the money. I mean, this was probably the best call out of that video where I said Bitcoin looks like it wants to break out just based off this pattern here. And boy, did it just immediately break out. And so another thing I said is that Bitcoin is a leading indicator of the market. At least I'm starting to believe that myself, that Bitcoin is a leading indicator, right? For the tech side at least. Because why? It has Coinbase. It has a foot in the game, right? And so it has a say so in what direction, or it helps have a say so in what direction the market goes. And so us seeing Bitcoin pump last night only further confirmed that we could be looking at a bear trap, like I was saying. And this pattern alone was also helping me confirm that we are looking at a bear trap in regards to the SPY and the triple Qs. Now, let's look at Nvidia because I really find Nvidia interesting here. And so one thing I was wrong about is Nvidia retesting 110. We hit like 112, 113, somewhere around that range, and then we started to bounce higher. But Nvidia reclaimed 117. Pretty bullish. Okay, so I will say that much. It's pretty bullish right now. But one thing about Nvidia is that it just needs to break out of this area here. And so we can consider this a head and shoulders pattern where we have a shoulder here, or inverse head and shoulders pattern. Sorry, we have a shoulder here, head here, and another shoulder here. And so if Nvidia breaks out, it can start heading towards 125, 126 range. And so my first targets will be, it had a hard time clearing 119. So I would say 119, but we could say 120 as our psych level. It clears that, we're heading to 123. And then after that, you're looking at a move to 125, 126. So Nvidia is actually looking very good right now. Right now we are in a 118 call for September 27th. So we'll see how this plays out. But I mean, we've been absolutely crushing it in regards to the calls today, or in regards to the market this week. So looking forward to seeing how this plays out. But I do think that at some point in time, there's going to be, in order for us to continue to pump higher, semiconductors are not going to need to fall in line. And what I mean by that is I wouldn't be surprised, and really pay attention to if any news pops up out of nowhere, either overnight or sometime next week. I wouldn't be surprised that Nvidia gets like some crazy news in order to start catching up with the market. Okay. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised that happens. You shouldn't be surprised that happens. Just really be on the lookout. I think we're on the verge of something just coming out of nowhere. I don't know, maybe sales, or I don't know, some new chip, whatever the case may be. I don't pay too much attention to that stuff, but regardless, Nvidia is looking like it wants to break out, and when it does, it's going to go absolutely insane, and it's going to carry the market with it. And so we saw that with AMD. AMD, we did a 160 call on AMD. We took this trade at around, I want to say 150, yeah, low 150, and it pumped all the way to about 158. We took profit at around 157 on AMD, made about a good, close to about a good 100%. So really good trade there. Right now it's at the 200 daily SMA. So really, really like AMD, but AMD is showing signs that semiconductors can start breaking out. Okay. Um, I think this is just a leading indicator on what's to come for Nvidia and the rest of the semiconductors. So we'll see. But as you guys can see, we had this pretty much broadening wedge to the downside. This is not a bull flag. I want to make that clear because there's no flagpole. So I want you guys to understand the difference between the two. Okay. But if AMD can clear the 200 daily SMA, then I definitely think AMD is going to start heading towards the 170s, 175 range. So really good trade. Congratulations to everybody in the Discord who took this trade. Google. I mean, we absolutely crushed Google. What a beautiful play. Um, Google, we did a 162.5 call. I showed you guys in one of my videos that the AI bot also called this play. 162.5 calls. We did it for next week. Google was an absolute beast today. It took its time. Like I said, I don't really enjoy trading Google because it just really takes its time moving. But I do think Google has more upside. I think Google can see about 165. And so if we do just so happen to sell off, or not sell off, but just see some type of dip heading into tomorrow, I imagine it's just going to pretty much head towards the 160, 159 area, field as a gap, and then start to pump higher from there. There's a fair value gap that needs to be mitigated all the way at 180, so we'll see what happens there. Someone pointed out in the Discord that this could turn out to be a inverse head and shoulders pattern. So I do agree with that, that this can turn out to be that, but we'll just have to see. And then your neckline will be somewhere around 170. So we break above 170, I imagine Google is going to go absolutely ballistic. So we'll see. But next is not Tesla, TLT. And so we took a trade on TLT. Re-entered TLT. We were doing another trade because we took profit on our 100 calls for September 20th. We got in at around the $95 target. We talked about this plenty of times. I think TLT can absolutely see 110 sometime this year, if not higher. Um, so beautiful entry in my opinion. We entered at around the $99 mark, somewhere high 98, $99 mark. TLT, we're treating this as a hedge against the market. Absolutely beautiful entry in my opinion. I don't think I could have gotten it any better. I guess a better entry will be $95, but I don't think we're going to head there anytime soon. But beautiful bounce off this trend here. You bounced here, you bounced here, and then you're at this fair value gap. You're pretty much bouncing off the fair value gap. So I think TLT is going to see some more upside and start heading towards 110 within the long term. So we're in 102 calls for October 18th, I believe. I could be wrong. It's either, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's October 18th. So yeah, we're in some calls for this. Beautiful play. We already won on our 100 calls. We took profit on that. So now we're re-entering the play and we're going to see how it turns out. I might add more depending on how tomorrow turns out. I'll let the Discord know. If you want access to the Discord, join. You're missing out on some crazy plays. Next is Meta. And so I talked about Meta in the Discord. I didn't go too much into detail, but Meta is breaking above this weekly trend line. So let's go to the weekly time frame. And this is absolutely insane. I mean, this thing is a beast right now. So we zoom out. And as you guys can see, we're looking at this weekly trend. We rejected here, we rejected here, we rejected here, we rejected here. And then Meta, think I talked about this 2 videos ago where Meta has this ascending triangle right here and is breaking out. And so this daily candle closed above this weekly level. Now, I wouldn't run away with this just yet. I really want to see how tomorrow opens because this by all means can end up being some type of trap. But I mean, it looks beautiful. Okay. I just wouldn't trade against this weekly level. That's all. So we broke out the ascending triangle. Meta looks great. I have nothing else to say. Right now, it's just going to continue to, we'll see if it continues to find new highs at this point. But I do think Meta can see 600. I don't think that's too much to ask for, but we'll see. Tesla. Tesla is a monster. I think I mentioned this in the last video. Ascending triangle. Well, I mentioned this in the last 2 videos actually. Ascending triangle, clear as day. You have a low here, higher low here, flat top, broke out. And this is what I was talking about in regards to a trap or a bear trap. That the SPY and triple Qs just looks like a bear trap because I'm showing you guys now just how all these stocks are showing bullish patterns. Okay, ascending triangles. You're seeing it across the board. You're seeing falling wedges, bullish patterns. You're just seeing all these bullish patterns. And so Tesla pretty much filled this gap. I really don't have much of a target, but I do think Tesla can see 300 this year. I don't think that's crazy to say. There was a 300 call on the options chain. I just couldn't find it anymore. It was like probably like 2 weeks back, and I pretty much forgot to talk about it. But it is what it is. I think Tesla is going to see 300 sometime this year. And next is Microsoft. And so Microsoft, on the options chain. So we were talking about this in, potential head and shoulders pattern here. And keep in mind, once again, because I have to say this all the time, head and shoulders patterns are not confirmed until you break the neckline. The neckline is all the way down to here. And so the pattern exists, but it's not confirmed. Okay, so one just got to remind you guys of that. Okay, so we're looking at the weekly time frame, right? And so the bot did something interesting. Our AI bot in the Discord alerted a 455 call for October. And so we pretty much jumped into that trade. I believe it's like October 11th, something like that. So we'll see how this plays out. So yeah, the bot seemed very confident about it. So yeah, we jumped into this play and we're going to see what happens. But uh, I'm leaning more so bullish on Microsoft now, just given what we're seeing across the market and just the fact that it pretty much cleared this level here. What is going on? Here we go. So the fact that it cleared this level here and pretty much is just retesting it, I think is a pretty bullish sign. We'll see. I would just like to see a bullish candle from here, and then I definitely think we could start seeing that 455 move. There's a fair value gap all the way at 450, so we'll see. But yeah, Microsoft looks okayish. The fact that it did close above this level, this is a weekly level, by the way, I think is a very good sign. And it's 437. As long as Microsoft holds, I would say 435. I think this is pretty bullish. So we'll see. Not, last but not least, we'll go over Apple. I would go over I guess I would go over IWM, but there's not much to go over. But since I know someone asked about it in the Discord, so I guess I'll go over it. But there's just really not much to go over. I'm gonna be honest. So Apple. So I mean, this was clean, guys. I told you guys about this level right here in the last video. I'm kind of upset that we didn't trade it, but we were already in like enough trades, and I don't like to oversaturate us in trades. So anytime you wonder why I haven't alerted a trade on something that I'm very bullish on, it's only because that I don't want to be in too many trades, and your account should only hold a certain amount of percentage of cash in regards to trading versus long-term investing and blah blah blah. Okay, so anyway, you guys don't care about that, right? So Apple, this was a beautiful entry. I mean, this bounce right here was insane. So I'm really upset I didn't get into this, but it is what it is. I mean, you can't catch them all. But I mean, I technically caught it. I just didn't trade it. So, but yeah, Apple looks absolutely insane right now. I will say that 230 is not too far away. Highest I'm looking at is about 235. Let's actually look at the weekly time frame. Yeah, so this candle is absolutely insane. I mean, this inside bar candle is insane. So we'll have to see what happens in regards to Apple. But yeah, I would say that Apple can start heading towards 235, and then we'll have to see what happens from there. But I told you guys, once Apple and Nvidia start agreeing with each other, the market is going to go ballistic, whether it's to the upside or to the downside. Once they start becoming in sync, you have a huge problem. Okay, the market is going to go absolutely insane. So I do think Apple has more upside potential here. It's clearing out these fair value gaps, and like I mentioned in the last video, because I don't talk about this enough, anytime a stock clears a fair value gap and gets above or below that fair value gap, chances are it's going to continue in that direction. And as you guys can see, it cleared two fair value gaps and is mounting above this one right here. So there's a good chance that Apple can start to head higher. Okay, usually that's a sign of a breakout happening when you start breaking fair value gaps to the upside or to the downside. So hopefully you learned something new, because I know a lot of traders been watching my videos and they start using fair value gaps and things like that, especially in my Discord. So I really appreciate you guys like actually learning or trying to learn about fair value gaps. So that's just a little something. So anytime you're clearing a fair value gap, like you start, instead of just mitigating it, you start breaking above it. That's shows that the stock is breaking out, or there's a high chance that the stock is breaking out. So you see right here, you have high volume right here. You break above this fair value gap, and then look what happens. You break above another one, look what happens. And so there's a chance that Apple is going to go higher. Okay, so we'll see. But yeah, that's my little educational piece. Do what you want with it. But other than that, that's really all I have, guys. I hopefully the point got across. Oh, let's actually look at coin real quick. And so I haven't. So just like this, I think coin is going to head higher. I mean, it's obvious since I said, Bitcoin is going to 65, 67K. I think coin is going to head higher. It may just retest and fill this gap here at around 166. But other than that, it broke above this fair value gap. It did retest and pretty much reject this fair value gap here. But at some point, it needs to mitigate this area at around the 180s, 175 range. And I think coin is going to head higher. I told you guys that this it broke out is if it breaks out this falling wedge pattern here, then it's definitely going to head higher, and I think it's going to head back to the 200s. So we'll see. I'm just waiting on a signal to get into this. I'm waiting on something to pop up on the options chain, and then we'll see what happens. But if you want access to the Discord, you want access to these type of plays, you want to see how I'm playing them, join the Discord. Link is in the description below. And until the next video, traders, you have a good one.